Welcome inside the wonderful world of pro football now for another week. I'm Ron Burke, as always. Glad to have you aboard. The first quarter of the season is through. We're now into the second quarter of this NFL season. And one thing we do know is things are not necessarily as they appeared in the preseason. We'll get into some developments here as we head into weekend 6 in the NFL. And joining me, the 3 Live crew, we'll call them. My left-hand man here in Philadelphia is Brian Baldinger. Joining us from the nation's capital is the one and only Doc Walker, and joining us from Big D is Tim Brown. But before we get started with NFL play, Baldy, we got to let Tim and Doc share some moments here, because Doc's UCLA Bruins, and he talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that they take care of the Fighting Irish, Tim Brown's Fighting Irish. Didn't happen, Doc. What happened to your Bruins against Notre Dame, which hadn't won a game before that meeting?
Well, fellas, as I said to Tim earlier in the show, congratulations is in order. Hail to the victors. It was the worst offensive performance by a UCLA team that I've seen. And I don't care if it was a 9th-string quarterback in. They should have beaten the Irish, and they didn't. And I'm humiliated.
Hey, Doc, man, don't be humiliated, man. Now you know how we feel playing with these young players, man. It's okay, man. You guys have bounced back. Hopefully you'll be able to get USC this year.
You know what? You guys need to start contributing more to those alumni funds. I don't think you're giving enough right now.
Well, Tim, we're glad to have you back. He comes to us courtesy of Bodog Football. And you talk about the NFL right now, guys, as we head into weekend 6 in the league this season. And I think parity or maybe mediocrity is the word here, because you look at what's going around and you see so many teams below the 500 mark really struggling record-wise so far. 13 of the 16 teams in the NFC have at least 2 losses here going into weekend 6. 7 NFC teams are below 500. 8 teams in the AFC are below 500. We still have a few winless teams as well. Is this ideal for the league, Baldy, or is it something besides that?
I think
it does create for good competition at times.
Well, if that's what you call it, because I don't think there's a lot of being. I mean, I think this really exists in the NFC. I think in the AFC, I think there's a stratification between Indianapolis, New England, Pittsburgh. I think there's some really good teams right there. In the NFC, I think we do have a watered-down league where you really don't know what you're going to get from week to week right now. And so we got to keep playing these games to see who's going to emerge and who's going to start stacking some wins together.
All right, let's go right to the head of the class in the AFC West. I mean, who would have thought this? Oh, I know who. Brian Baldinger, because he said before this season that the Raiders would win the AFC West, as hard as that might be for some to believe. Tim, your Raiders in first place right now in the AFC West. First of all, did you see it coming, and explain to us why they are where they are at this point in the season? Because this was the team that picked first in the draft. Nobody expected the Raiders to get out on top and play this well so soon.
Yeah, you know, I can't say that I saw it coming, because I actually thought that they would try and get Jamarcus in camp early, try and get him on the field as quickly as possible. So from that point of view, I thought that obviously the Raiders would struggle having a rookie quarterback in there. But as soon as Dante came to camp, I knew that he would be the quarterback, especially with Jamarcus holding out. So, no, I think once you look at that team, obviously defensively they're pretty good. And offensively, they just needed somebody to come and take the reins and move this thing ahead. And I think that's what Dante gives the team.
Yeah, the Raiders so far, 11 offensive touchdowns. They had 12 all of last season. And, Doc, now they're going to stare head on into the San Diego Chargers, a team that seems to have gotten itself back together, at least for the moment. How do you see this matchup between Oakland and San Diego this weekend?
Well, the Raiders are running the ball well, and that's the one thing I think that allows that offensive line to really rectify last year's embarrassing performance. So they're legit, and the pride is back in the silver and black. So I like that. I think that it's a lot to be said about a group of guys once they put winning ahead of personal accomplishments. I thought last year's Raiders team was dysfunctional and highly selfish.
Doc, you know, when you look at this Raider team, Tim, I know you've seen them. I mean, they fixed the offensive line like you mentioned, but they lead the league in rushing by a wide margin, almost 200 yards a game. And so that's taken a lot of pressure off. I think the one thing that's surprising is defensively they haven't been what I thought they would be. I mean, I thought they would even be better, because they returned most of the starters from a year ago. But really against the run, they haven't been very good. And I think that's where San Diego is going to get the edge this weekend. And then Antonio Gates for the Chargers right now is absolutely unstoppable. You can't zone him. You can't man-to-man. This guy can do whatever he wants. He's off to a phenomenal start, may set a record for receptions in a season. He's off the charts good right now, and the whole offense goes through Antonio Gates.
All right, guys, the marquee matchup is the one that really has been pointed to for several weeks now. It's going to take place at Texas Stadium. The Cowboys 5-0, the New England Patriots 5-0. But when you look at the Cowboys and what they did against the Buffalo Bills, Doc, I'll ask you this first. It's hard to really feel that Tony Romo is the guy when he's such an awful guy. I don't care that they won the game. Tony Romo was horrible in that game. Why should we feel that he's going to rebound against the genius of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady leading the New England Patriots this weekend?
Well, really because he won the game. And there's something about athletics where certain guys have it. We can't necessarily define what it is, but he has it. Because despite his horrible performance, he rectified himself in crunch time, made the key throws, and they believe in him. And there's no better feeling than to break a huddle with a guy that you trust.
I think when you look at Romo and what he did, I mean, how many guys could have played as poorly as he did in the first half and still be able to keep himself together to be able to bring the team down and make a couple plays at the end to kick that winning field goal? This has been a hot and cold team first half, second half all year long. They're a much better second half team than first half. And I think part of that is it takes a while for them to get in a rhythm. And Romo starts to feel the game and starts to get rid of those bad plays where he is off the charts good outside of last Monday night in the second half.
Tim, let me ask you, Tim, about chemistry, cohesion, and rhythm. When a quarterback is going as poorly as Romo was going the other night, how difficult is it for a receiver or other players, skill position or otherwise, to really stay in tune with what's going on with an offense that's struggling so badly?
Well, you know, the thing about it, you know, playing football, it's a team sport, man. And sometimes within that team, you're going to have a player that's just having a really bad night. Unfortunately, when it's a quarterback, it affects everybody, you know, on the offense, really everybody on the team. You know, obviously, playing with 22 different quarterbacks, I've had that experience more than once. And the only thing you can do is just try and pat the guy on the back, ask him what he's saying, how you can help him out. Do I need to shorten my routes? What do I need to do to help him out? So help you out so you can get this ball out your hand a little quicker and feel comfortable doing it. So, you know, I think any kind of bad emotions that he may feel from his teammates is only going to make the situation worse and make the chemistry a lot worse.
Right. Let's listen to both quarterbacks involved in this game, Brady and Romo, beginning with the Cowboys starter.
If we win this game and lose the next 10, we're probably not a very good football team. You know, we lose this game and win the next 10, we're probably a pretty good football team. So, you know, it's still a big game, obviously, but it's also not knocking you out of the playoffs either.
Another regular season game for us, and there's been a lot of big games around here, so they're a very talented team. We need to play our best game. I think that's what it comes down to. It's a great defense who attacks the quarterback, attacks the football, and they're very good at what they do. So I don't think we're building this in anything more than it really is, which is another game on our schedule.
You know, both the Cowboys and Patriots have been stellar on offense. In terms of total offense, they are 1-2 Dallas and New England respectively. Points per game, they are 1-2 New England and Dallas respectively. They are in the top 4 in passing yards. They're in the top 7 with New England ranking 3rd and Dallas 7 in rush yards per game. And yet I wonder, neither team is a slouch defensively. So these offensive numbers, you think, Baldy, are they going to tell the story ultimately of the result of this game?
Well, I mean, that's been really the tale of both these teams this year. They both scored. I mean, they're number 1 and number 2 scoring offenses in football right now. Mm-hmm. So you've got to score points in this league. And they've been able to do that with numbers like we've never seen before. So I think ultimately that's what it's going to come down to, although I do think New England's defense is much better than Dallas. I think they disguise their double teams better. And I think they'll confuse Tony Romo in that offense of Dallas.
We saw the other night against the Bills, T.O. had a couple of opportunities late in this game, couldn't hold on to passes, one in which he was defended pretty well in the end zone on the 2-point try. But in advance of this big game that everybody's looking forward to, certainly in Dallas and in the Boston area, Terrell Owens, he's a magnet, a media magnet. And at his locker this week, he left a sign. He wasn't there, wasn't talking to the reporters. He said, "Dear reporters, due to the magnitude of this week's game and high volume of questions for the original 81 about the other 81, I'll be taking all questions immediately following Sunday's game. Sincerely, Terrell Owens, 81. P.S. Get your popcorn ready." Of course, a reference to Randy Moss. And Tim, let me ask you this: Terrell Owens and what he's been to this league over the last few years, he's brought a lot of